I want to tell you a quick story before I start. I was walking through the hallways, not really minding my own business, listening to the conversations around me. As I passed the front door on the way to my English classroom, I heard the dialogue between two friends nearby. Now, for reasons of privacy, I would rather not give away their race or gender. So the one girl leans to the other. "Hey, Negro, you missed a spot." The young man did not turn around. The first girl smiled a bland smile that all white girls, hell, all white people have, and she walked on. A group of Mexicans stood by and laughed that high-pitched laugh that they all have. So now it's your turn. What do you think the black window washer did? What would you do in that situation? Do you think he turned and calmly explained the fallacies of racism and showed the girls the error of their way? That's the one thing that makes racism, or any discrimination for that matter, a little less powerful in my mind. No matter how biased or bigoted a comment or action may be, the guy can turn around and explain why racism is wrong. And hell, if worse comes to worse, punch him in the face. Discrimination against those who can defend themselves, obviously, cannot survive. What would be far worse is if we discriminated against those who cannot defend themselves. What then could be worse than racism? Look around you now and thank God that we don't live in a world that discriminates and despises those who cannot defend themselves. Thank God that every one of us in this room, in this school, hates racism and sexism, and by that logic, discrimination in general. Thank God that everyone in this institution is dedicated to the ideal of mutual respect and love for all of our fellow human beings. Then pinch yourself because you're living in a dream. Then pinch the hypocrites sitting next to you. Then pinch the hypocrite that is you. Pinch yourself once for each time you have looked at one of your fellow human beings with a mental handicap and laughed. Pinch yourself each and every time you denounced discrimination, only to turn and hate those around you without the ability to defend themselves. The only ones around you without the ability to defend themselves. Pinch yourself for each time you have called someone else a retard. If you've been wondering about my opening story, I'll tell you that it didn't happen. At least not as I described it. Can you guess what I changed? No, it wasn't the focused hate on one person. And no, it wasn't the slanted Asian eyes or the cookie-cutter features that white people have, or that shrill Hispanic hyena laugh. Yeah, it hurts when people make assumptions about your person and use them against you. The girl didn't say, "Hey, Negro," because there wasn't a black person. It was, "Hey, retard." It was a mentally handicapped boy washing the window. I removed the word retard. I removed the word that destroys the dignity of our most innocent. I removed the most hateful word in the entire English language. I don't understand why we use the word. I don't think I ever will. In such an era of political correctness, why is it that retard is still okay? Why do we allow it? Why don't we stop? Maybe students can't handle that, can't handle stopping. And I hope that offends you, students, because it was meant to. But I don't think that the adults in here can either. Students, look at your teacher. Look at every member of this faculty. I am willing to bet you that every one of them would throw a fit if they heard the word faggot or nigger, hell, the word Negro used in their classroom. But how many of them would raise a finger against the word retard? How many of them have? Teachers, feel free to raise your hand or call attention to yourself through some other means if you have. That's what I thought. Clearly, this is not a problem contained within our age group. So why am I doing this? Why do I risk being misunderstood and resented by this school's student body and staff? I'm doing this because I know how much you can learn from people. From all people. Especially the mentally handicapped. I know this because every morning I wake up and I come downstairs and I sit across from my sister, quietly eating her Cheerios. And as I sit down, she sets her spoon down on the table and she looks at me. Her strawberry blonde hair hanging over her freckled face almost completely hides the question mark-shaped scar above her ear from her brain surgery 2 years ago. She looks at me and she smiles. She's got a beautiful smile. Lights up her face. Her front 2 teeth are faintly stained from the years of intense epilepsy medication, but I don't notice that anymore. I lean over to her and say, "Good morning, Olivia." She stares at me for a moment and says quickly, "Good morning, Soeren," and goes back to her Cheerios. I sit there for a minute, thinking about what to say. "What do you want to do at school today, Olivia?" She looks up again. "I'm going to see Mr. B," she replies loudly, hugging herself slightly and looking up. Mr. B is her gym teacher, and perhaps her favorite man outside of our family on the entire planet, and Olivia is thoroughly convinced that she will be having gym class every day of the week. I like to view it as wishful thinking. So she finishes her Cheerios and grabs her favorite blue backpack and waits for her bus driver, Miss Debbie, who, like clockwork, arrives at our house at exactly 7 o'clock each morning. She gives me a quick hug goodbye and runs excitedly to the bus, ecstatic for another day of school. And I watch the bus disappear around the turn, and I can't help but remember the jokes. The short bus. The retard rocket. No matter what she does, no matter how much she loves those around her, she will always be the butt of some immature kid's joke. She will always be the butt of some mature kid's joke. She will always be the butt of some adult's joke. By no fault of her own, she will spend her entire life being stared at and judged, despite the fact that she will never hate, never judge, never make fun of, never hurt. She will never be accepted. That's why I'm doing this. I'm doing this because I don't think you understand how much you hurt others when you hate. And maybe you don't realize that you hate, but that's what it is. Your preemptive dismissal of them, your dehumanization of them, your mockery of them, it's nothing but another form of hatred. It's more hateful than racism, more hateful than sexism, more hateful than anything. I'm doing this so that each and every one of you, student or teacher, thinks before the next time you use the word retard, before the next time you shrug off someone else's use of the word retard. Think about the mentally handicapped and those who love them. If you have to, think of my sister. Think about how she can find more happiness in the blowing of a bubble, in the watching of it float away, than most of us in here will find in our entire lifetime. Think about how she will always love everyone unconditionally. Think about how she will never hate. Then think about which one of you is retarded. Maybe this has become more of an issue today because society is changing, slowly to be sure, but changing nonetheless. The mentally handicapped aren't being locked in their families' basements anymore. The mentally handicapped aren't rotting like criminals in institutions. Our fellow human beings are walking among us, attending school with us, entering the workforce with us, asking for nothing but acceptance, giving nothing but love. As we become more accepting and less hateful, more and more handicapped individuals will finally be able to participate in the society that has shunned them for so long. You will see more of them working in places you go, at Dominic's, at Jewel, at Walmart. Someday, I hope more than anything, one of these people that you see will be my sister. I want to leave you with one last thought. I didn't ask to have a mentally handicapped sister. She didn't choose to be mentally handicapped. But I wouldn't trade it for anything. I have learned infinitely more from her simple words in love than I have in any classroom of higher education. I only hope that one day each of you will open your hearts enough to experience true unconditional love, because that is the only thing that any of them want to give. I hope that someday someone will love you as much as Olivia loves me. I hope that someday you will love somebody as much as I love her. I love you, Olivia.